Okay, are there any young people here today? I bet you there are. Yes. I have a question for you. See if you can answer this. When you got up this morning, did anybody say that you were going somewhere? Anybody say we're going where? I meant first. Where you come to church? Is that what you said?
We didn't go
You did not.
to
To church. See, that's why I was hoping. Thank you very much, because here's my next question. What is church? What's church? What? What's church? Go ahead. It won't be wrong. It's okay. What's church? Okay, it's a place that people come and we sing songs. Okay. It's kind of hard to say what church is, isn't it? Here's some older youth. What's church? A place where we gather for worship. Could I have some young people up front here? We're gonna figure out just what's going on today. I need some help up here. Come on. Yes. Good. Okay. Now, how many of you can sing? Can you sing? Okay. Now, some of you were here at a worship service this past summer, and we did this then, but there weren't very many people here, and maybe you don't remember, okay? We're going to teach each other and all those people out there what church is. Will you do that with me? Okay, stand up, because remember, we stand up and we sing. Now, this song that you're going to learn, then we're all going to sing it together. It has hand movements and some head movements. Can you do that with me? Okay. Now, you just sing after me. I'll sing the first few words, and you're going to sing them back. Okay, and you go like this. I am the church. Go ahead. You are the church. We are the church. Together, all who follow Jesus, all around the world. Yes, we're the church. Together. Now, you ready for this? Now, this is even more complicated. Ready? Okay. The church is not a building. You have to shake your head? No, okay. The church is not a building. Okay. The church is not a steeple. The church is not a resting place. The church is the people. Okay, can we sing that together? You think so? Because we're going to sing it all in a row now. And anybody out here, you're going to go through a test now to see if you were listening. If you are able, please stand, and we're going to sing this together. Ready to go? Ready to go? Real loud now, because they won't be any good at it. Okay? You ready to go? Okay. You sing with me now. Okay. I am the church. We are the church. Oh, I forgot. I blew it. I blew it, didn't I? Forgive me. Okay, let's try again. Ready to go? I am the church. You are the church. We are the church together. All who follow Jesus, all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. Now, you ready? The church is not a building. The church is not a steeple. The church is not a resting place. The church is the people. I am the church. You are the church. We are the church together. All who follow Jesus, all around the world. Yes, we're the church together. Way to go, you guys. You were great. Now, remember that. If somebody asks you what church is, all who follow Jesus, we're the church together. What?
Say hi to Justine.
You go ahead and say hi to Justine. Now, you can go back to sit where you were, because I just got to say a few more things about what's happening today. Then we're going to do a really neat thing. This is a... Hi, Justine. This is a big day for we who call ourselves the First Congregational Church. How many of you, adults anyway, or older youth, have ever heard the word polity? P-O-L-I-T-Y. You ever heard that word? How many? Oh, good. Who wants to know these things? But anyway, okay. You know what that word means? The way a group chooses to govern itself. That's its polity. Especially churches. They have all different kinds of polity. What's the polity of the United Church of Christ? Anybody know? Aha. United, but how do we govern ourselves? Say it again. By the congregation. It's called congregational autonomy, and the only way that the denomination even exists is that local churches decide to enter into covenant together, associating with each other. It's a neat denomination. It started out with congregational churches way back when. Evangelical and Reformed churches then merged with them. And here we are today, United Church of Christ. But how many of you were raised Roman Catholic? Okay. How many of you were raised Lutheran? Methodist? Presbyterian? Oh, we're still working at saving you. Okay. But anyway. No, seriously. All those denominations are Christian denominations, but they're very different from us. They're called connectional churches. And so on purpose, when they get together, they want to have someone that they designate as their bosses, their higher, the hierarchy, who can actually tell the local church what to do. Did you know that? Connectional churches. Okay. By the way, those of us who are ministers in the United Church of Christ always think that it's nicer, the grass is greener on the other side, but all the ministers I know in those denominations think that I've got it made. So, because they don't like their bishops or something like that. But seriously, you know what it means for us? It means that we are expected to find where God is leading us and go there. It means we will not be told where God is leading us. It's our job to discern that. It means that we aren't going to get whatever money we might need to go there, that we've got to find it, do it ourselves. It means that we'll be blessed by, given resources by, if they have them, by our denomination. But we believe in our denomination that the local congregation is the unit of faithfulness. And it's through that local congregation that the Spirit continues to work. That's what this service today is all about. So let's continue this service by passing the peace of Christ, each to the other. We started some time ago, the congregation voted to start on a path that has been ever since then called New Beginnings. And a lot has happened since then. A lot is happening. But it seemed a good Sunday today to be more, how shall I put this? Congregationalists aren't good at this, but official. That it has begun. And it has a shape and a form, and it's going. But, it's a good but. It's only going to happen because the people who are this congregation make it happen. And we'll only know it's happening because it is. We can't be sure at any given point where it's going to take us. We can't be sure right now what it's going to look like 6 months from now. But we can be sure of one thing, that if all of us together work to do the work of Christ as the church in Lowell, it will happen. So today we're going to focus on two aspects of New Beginnings, the whole New Beginnings itself and the commitment that takes from all of us. A second part of what we're going to be doing during this time of New Beginnings is a process of discernment about whether or not we can enter into the path of becoming open and affirming. So we're now going to have some discussion about that and move forward in this service of dedication. Kira, are you going to go first, I think?
I don't do this very often, so sorry if I seem nervous. As some of you know, this has been my church since I was 3 years old. It has been the place of some great memories and some heartbreaking memories as well. This church has been my family through all of that, and I am thankful that I can call you all my family. This is why it is so important to me to go through the New Beginnings. I want our church to be a place where my kids can grow and learn, and where we can all grow and learn together. Excuse me. I read an article recently that said that churches who love their model more than their mission will die. This speaks volumes to me and what we are experiencing right now. Our mission is feeding the mind, body, and spirit. We need to live that mission and serve those that need our support. The article goes on to say that gathering together is a part of what churches do, and by doing that, we are able to do more. By gathering together, we can be stronger and help more. We can tutor kids who need help in school, we can feed people, and we can learn and grow together in a spiritual way. I think that we can do all of these things, and I am looking forward to being a part of that. I am excited to see where we go from here, and with adopting this new mission statement, we can be focused on what our next step is. When we place our hands on the banner in the Family Center, we are saying that we are committed to seeing this through. I know that it won't be an easy journey, but that's half the experience.
So Kara and I have been working to come up with a project that will help us to embrace our mission statement. And Kara, you did a great job today. Thank you. One of the things that we'll be doing today is to embrace this, to make it our own, to say, yes, this is something we can affirm and agree to. And if you take a look at the front of your bulletin, and I've only got half mine left, if you look at the front of yours, I'd like you to take a moment to read the mission statement. And if you feel called to affirm and to agree to this and make it something you want to put your hand in and on and move forward with us, then please stand and we'll say it together. Responding to the living God with a progressive voice and working hands, we are called to feed Christ's community in mind, body, and spirit. Thank you. Now, after worship today, we'll gather out in the Family Center, and we will literally put our hand in this project.
How many of you remember that this congregation, actually some years ago, did consider taking up the discernment process called open and affirming? How many of you remember that you at least considered it? Okay. I'm glad that it was considered. I'm glad that you understand that you can't just say, oh, of course we are. I'm glad that you understand that for all of us, because of the way we've lived and the way we've been raised and the culture in which we have lived and the society in which we have lived, that being open and affirming is quite the opposite of what we see going on and what we've been comfortable with getting used to. Now let me try to tell a couple true stories of that to illustrate why we need to go through a discernment process for this big step. When I went back into the ministry some years ago, I decided that I didn't really want to go back, and so I decided I was going to put so many different barriers up to any church that might be interested in me that nobody would be. One of the things I said was, well, if I'm going to go back into ministry, this was round about, help me, I don't remember, 1999, I think, I won't serve any church that's not open and affirming. Thereby being this old guy already and saying that, forget it. Didn't work. A couple open and affirming churches wanted me to come, and I went to one in Hartford, Connecticut. I accepted their call to be their pastor. Well, I felt good about the fact they had voted to declare themselves open and affirming, but I myself had never been a part of a congregation that already was open and affirming. And the truth is that as unusual and unique as that congregation was, it was very diverse. When you stood up in the pulpit on a Sunday morning, it was like looking at the United Nations gathered for a council or something like that. That was really neat, but I honestly didn't see a whole lot of difference between that congregation, or feel a difference from any other congregation I'd served. So I started talking with people, a number of whom had joined that congregation just because it was labeled open and affirming. And it occurred to me that I was looking for the wrong thing. I thought that it would always look terribly different because it was open and affirming. I don't know what, be better, be more progressive, whatever word I should use. But it finally occurred to me that to declare, for a congregation to declare itself open and affirming, is merely to declare that for the rest of our lives together, we're going to work at figuring out and living what it means to be open and affirming. You see, there's no place we can look at out there and say, well, if we can be like that, we're open and affirming. It'll be whatever it means for us. But let me give you one example that came true for me as the pastor of an already declared open and affirming church. A number of persons who in their intimate times chose to be with somebody of the same gender That's called a homosexual person, okay? That were active in the congregation, were regular worshipers. And a lot of them were like those of you who are up here in front. We ministers love you because it's not such a long way between us and the rest of the people back there. But no, seriously, for some reason, a number of the people who happen to be homosexual, female or male, in that congregation sat up toward the front. And you know what? A number of them really liked each other. And so they would actually sit with their arms around each other in those pews. And every once in a while, when they were really moved at something, they'd cry and one would have to hold the other or something like that, right in front of everybody. A few members of that congregation came to see me and tell me how uneasy that made them feel. A public display of affection by people of the same gender. What did that mean? It meant that some people in that congregation had a ways to go. Because when I asked them if they had any problem seeing two heterosexual people doing the same thing, what do you think the answer was? No. That's not affirming, is it? It's not even open, is it? So does that make any sense to you? It's not easy doing this because we aren't used to doing this for persons who happen to choose people of the same gender for their intimate moments. Very recently, a member, now some of you who are on the ministry leadership team have heard this, so I'm sorry that I'm going to be repeating it. A member of this congregation whose background is quite scientific called me as the present pastor, said that there was a friend, a good friend, at another UCC church in Grand Rapids who was having a very difficult time. Well, now this member wanted me to know that because of their scientific background, they thought the open and affirming stuff was a ho-hum. Well, of course, because people don't choose their, their sexual preferences. They don't. That's the way it is. But obviously it wasn't quite as easy for her friend at another congregation because in that congregation was a new member, person who had been born and was raised and grew up to, middle age and beyond as a male, but who had learned of himself that he was actually transgendered. And he was most comfortable living the life that was inside him, not what his body was. That was living the life of a woman. And when he came to worship on Sundays, he wore makeup and a dress. Now, this was not New Orleans, okay? This is United Church of Christ, old congregation in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who had already gone through the sermon process, declared themselves to be open and affirming. Now here's a person who, by the way, successful business person, all week long has to dress in suits and ties and things like that in order to keep the business going. Sundays, dresses in a dress, and the member at this other church found this to be very, very hard to deal with. So the member here said, what can I tell? It happened to be a her, the friend at the other church. What can I tell her? Help me with this, because to me it just seems like a ho-hum. Well, I suggested that she tell her friend, maybe if you thought about being that person for just a minute, you might know what it could feel like to look forward to being with a group of people with whom you could be your true self, even for just a little bit of time on Sunday morning. Open and affirming. Turns out that when that person at the other church, the woman heard this from our member, it was the only thing she needed to hear. She had never thought of it that way, that open and affirming means that whomever you are more than welcome, but we will find you valuable. Be yourself, and you'll be just as important as anybody else here, just as valuable, and we'll want to get to know you. Does that make sense? What open and affirming is? It's not easy. It's not natural in our society to just feel that way and to be able to be that way. Do you understand that? Now, I've only used examples of persons who happen to be what the society calls homosexual. That's not what open and affirming is. It's persons of all sorts who are different, and because of their differences, they can't live just as themselves. They have to be careful. People that don't have white skin in our society. People who speak English in a broken way or with a strong accent. People who have physical disabilities or mental disabilities from whatever cause. People who have felony records because in our society, you might as well be branded for the rest of your life. If you have any kind of a felony, you might never work again. You can't teach even though you might be the best teacher in the world. Did you know that? Could you openly affirm those persons too? Could we? That's the question of open and affirming. That's the process we shall go through. It's a good process. It's not an easy process. No way to know how long it might take us. It might take us only a few months. It might take us a few years. And we might decide that we really aren't that. But do you understand why that would be such a new beginning? For us, of course it would. But do you understand what a new beginning that could be for so many other people? A place, a people that really is open and affirming. Wow. That'll take commitment. It'll take being able to grow and become new, not just talk about new beginnings. But I don't bet, not really. But if I did, I'd bet on us. I would. How about you? Think about it, pray about it. But please, let's all be a part of it together. The section of the service we're in right now, if you saw it on your bulletin, it talks about setting two tables. The table of commitment was the first one. We just set that. We used words to talk about the commitment to new beginnings. Two different kinds of a commitment, okay? That table is set for us, my people. Either we go forward, committed to it, or it isn't going to happen. But the second table that we will now set is the table of communion, which, of course, it's up to us to participate, but it's not up to us to make it go forward. Let's move on toward that by singing our hymn.